The thing about apples is they can't be preserved in a seed bank. They really don't come true to seed. If you grow an apple tree from a seed that you collect from an apple that you enjoyed, that resulting tree will, potentially look and taste nothing like its parent. With apples and other tree fruits, it's really important that we preserve living germplasm. We can't just preserve seed because that won't preserve those varieties. We have to preserve them in orchards like this one. We've got to continue actively growing these old varieties for fear of losing them. It's kind of this really important story about how climate change and a preservation orchard that's been in existence since the Great Depression all sort of came to a head. During the Great Depression, there was a gentleman named Stearns Lothrop Davenport. He was actually tasked by the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture to lead a WPA project. He was managing crews of people to cut down unmanaged apple trees that were within close proximity to commercial orchards. And what he realized through this work was that he was in some cases maybe cutting down the only representative of a particular variety. Mr. Davenport recognized that there was a need to preserve these old varieties before they were wiped off the face of the earth. He set out to make his life's mission collecting many of these old heirloom varieties and bringing them back to his home farm in North Grafton, Massachusetts. He recognized that his orchard needed a caretaker, needed a steward that would survive him. He had been a trustee with the Worcester County Horticultural Society, and so he approached the president to say, I've got this apple orchard. I would really love it if Worcester County Hort Society would take on managing it. This could be a really fantastic way for the organization to help preserve these heirloom varieties. One of the very first projects that we undertook when building out Tower Hill was to then move the orchard here. And so for 30 years or more, the garden had this heirloom preservation orchard greeting every single guest who came up the driveway. We would regularly, every spring, late winter, early spring, collect scionwood off of the apple orchard and distribute it. And scionwood was distributed from this collection to all 50 states, to something like a dozen countries. 2010, that was the last year that we were able to distribute scionwood from this collection because later on that season, fire blight moved in and really ravaged the orchard. Part of the reason it's called fire blight is because it spreads like wildfire. That particular year, we had temperatures well above 75 degrees in early May, when it's typically pretty wet, and fire blight at that time period, when the temperatures are above 75, is able to travel from tree to tree on the backs of honeybees. So while honeybees are doing their very important work of pollination, they're also transferring fire blight. They're transferring that bacteria from tree to tree. We went to pretty extensive measures to try to protect the trees that were in the collection, but we were fighting and losing an uphill battle. And so by 2018, when I had just started in the position that I'm in now at Tower Hill, a gentleman named John Bunker, who's incredible expert at heirloom apples, approached me and said, I want to help you restore the orchard. It's time to cut down all the trees and start from scratch. So John and I, for the past 2 years, have worked on this restoration plan. We have a small staff like most botanic gardens do. Without the help of volunteers, there's no way we could have done anything like this spring. So I think, for me, it's really twofold. I hope that people can share with us in celebrating, just the tastiness of the fruit. But I also hope that we can relaunch that scion distribution program in pretty short order so that we can continue to grow the collection of orchardists out there helping us to preserve this really important germplasm, this important piece of our collection.